This is PNC Roundtable.
Hello, this is Ric DeVore, Regional President for PNC Bank, and thank you for listening to PNC Roundtable. It's on this show that we tackle some of the region's tough issues with people who make a difference.
Now here's the PNC Roundtable.
Welcome into the PNC Roundtable. I'm Paul W. Smith, along with my co-host, the Regional President of PNC, Ric DeVore. Ric, always nice to be with you.
Good to see you.
You always bring with you such interesting and good guests. Today, no exception. Bud Denker is Executive Vice President of Penske Performance, Penske Automotive Group, and Senior Vice President of Penske Corporation. He is responsible for Penske Corporation's marketing and communications functions. This would include Penske Automotive Group's 335 automotive dealerships in the U.S., Puerto Rico, the U.K., Germany, and Italy. Penske Corporation revenues exceeded $17 billion during 2011. Bud Denker also manages Penske Racing's marketing functions for its IndyCar and NASCAR disciplines, whose teams will compete in over 90 races this year alone. And, of course, he's chairman of the upcoming Chevrolet Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix. Bud resides in beautiful Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. His wife, Melissa, two sons, Christian and Cameron. I can say, yes, his wife is beautiful, and yes, his two sons are outstanding and superior. Christian and Cameron, from my personal experience in the neighborhood. Bud Denker, it's always good to see you.
Good to see you again, Paul, and also Ric. Thank you for having me on the show.
This is a very big deal, Ric. Forgetting about all of the other good things that Bud Denker is involved with and does, and the whole Penske organization, this race coming back to Detroit, to the Motor City, the Chevrolet Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix is fabulous news.
Oh, it really is, and thanks to WJR, really, it's really how we got this started, and you're probably wondering how that was, but Bud and I were waiting to go on your show during the Thanksgiving Day Parade. And Bud had approached PNC about this idea and this concept, and it took off, and quite frankly, we've been working pretty hard ever since on this idea, and also our participation up at Mackinac together with the Penske organization. So it's really been a great marriage, and no pun intended, a great ride so far.
It's just a great, first of all, you both have great organizations, but bringing you together and doing things that are good for the community. And what people need to know is, long before this race, June 1st through the 3rd, things have been happening on Belle Isle that just don't generally happen. Things are being fixed. Things are being cleaned up. Things are being prepared. And that's one of the reasons of many, Bud Denker, that it's so important to bring world-class racing, auto racing, back to the Motor City with this Chevrolet Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix.
Well, it is, Paul, and in fact, it's great to have racing back in the Motor City. We need to have racing back here. We need big events in our city, not just every 20 years for Super Bowl or 30 years, but every single year. And having this event back on Belle Isle means more than just racing. It means that we're doing a lot for the community, a lot for Belle Isle. Belle Isle needs some help. The city needs some help. We know that, and what this race provides to the city are many different opportunities. The opportunity to clean up Belle Isle. If you go down to Belle Isle, and you'll see it even after our race, we prepared Belle Isle for the citizens to use for the summer. We've cleaned the streets, we've cleaned the lagoon, we repolished the Scott Fountain, we're repainting the casino. The boathouse that hasn't been used, their docks, probably 20, 30 years. When you go down there, those docks are now removed. It looks beautiful now. Those things are important, but also what's important is the economic benefit that we bring to the city. $50 million of benefit will come into our city, into our region, because of people coming here from all over the world to see this race and to look at our great waterfront and experience what Detroit has to offer.
Well, and it's the fact, too, that it's an appointment event, if you will. That is, if we keep this thing going, and I know you're committed to at least a couple of years, then people from around the country and around the world will put it on their calendar and say, oh, we can't miss this. We have to be there for the Chevrolet Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix this year or next year or whatever. I was speaking after our conversation about it with Frank Torrey of Torrey Bruglio, who gets in there and gets all that stuff cleaned up and takes care of the shrubs, the grass, the bushes, and all of that. Frankly, they've had their hands full. There's been a lot of cleanup necessary. And again, I said earlier, and I'll say it again, it wouldn't be happening if this kind of commitment wasn't happening for this kind of a very special race. But what's different about it this time around as compared to when we did this back in 2008?
Well, there's several new things we brought in, and you learn from having the race in '07 and '08. You learn your lessons, and you learn how to do things better. And we also take feedback from the people that were there before also, which we've got. So we've got some great institutional knowledge of how to make the event better. We have more racing on Belle Isle. We have 4 different race series that will be racing from Friday through Sunday, 5 races. So when you're there from 8 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, there's action on the track every minute, every hour. We've got great entertainment. People wanted more entertainment off tracks. We went out and got Mitch Ryder on Friday night. We got the B-52s on Saturday night. We got Ronnie Dunn from Brooks and Dunn on Sunday. We got the Four Tops doing the national anthem. Ndamukong Suh is going to be our Grand Marshal. We'll announce that here shortly. And so a lot going on.
I think
we just did.
I think he just announced it.
So we've got great things going on. But the other thing about it, too, is that our transportation's better. It's always hard to get people on and off when you have one bridge. We'll have 100,000 people come that weekend. Our transportation plan is you must park downtown at one of our lots that'll be fully accessible and well marked, and we'll get you off the island much faster than you did in previous years because we learned how to do that. I've got over 100 buses rented, luxury coaches to get people on and off the island, and those things are all new. But the other thing you're going to see is a more beautiful Belle Isle. As I mentioned before, and you mentioned Frank Torrey, I call it nip and tucking. Frank's going to be going down there nipping and tucking Belle Isle before you get down there, and the people will love what they see as far as the beautification of that great island.
No question about it. And by the way, the tradition of a free pre-day returns on the first Friday, June 1st, because of you, Ric DeVore, and PNC Bank.
Well, in keeping with our helping kids in early education, this is a really exciting program for us, and we really did not know about Fifth Gear, which is a Penske program, and we're happy to be involved with that as well. So we're going to have preschool kids and fifth graders. And as we've talked about in this program before, Paul, we have a problem with children not going into sciences and engineering professions. And while, yes, these are fifth graders, if they can get a taste of the excitement of being in the automotive industry, we think that will bear fruit down the road. So we're very excited to join Penske on this.
The earlier, the younger, the better. Is that the Fifth Gear program, or is that something else?
This is. I'll let you go.
Well, it's a good question, Paul, because part of giving back and bringing the race back was once again more than just having cars go fast and loud on Belle Isle. When we announced this in October, Roger and myself, we were bringing the race back. Thanks, by the way, to Chevrolet for allowing us to bring this back, and Jim Campbell and Mark Royce. My thinking was, how can we get the DPS school kids involved? So many of these school children would never have the opportunity to come to a race, never had the opportunity to come watch a race at Belle Isle, but thanks to the help of PNC Bank, many of them will. So we constructed a fifth grade program where we'll have about 500 school children, fifth grade, who have gone through a science and math curriculum before they get to Belle Isle. They'll be our guests, Rick and my guests, down to Belle Isle that day. They'll go through some different science and math curriculums at the racetrack with some of our Team Penske engineers, learn about racing, but learn about the science and math of racing for the hope that will spark one kid's interest to pursue that field in the future. And then the other program we'll have there, so we'll have those hundreds of kids there, is that PNC has a great program called Grow Up Great. They touch the lives of millions of kids in preschool ages and touch them in ways that could never be done. And those kids, I think 225 of them, correct, will also be coming to Belle Isle as our guests to experience a great event, but also a great entertainment for them and their families.
And this, again, Rick, addresses precisely what you've said and what is in the DNA of PNC Bank, and that is taking a look and addressing the regional workforce development needs and that lack of engineers, information technology candidates.
No, it is. And if you think about it from a seasonality standpoint, our program with Grow Up Great, now we have a science curriculum around the Thanksgiving Day Parade. We brought the children to the North American Auto Show, and now we're bringing the kids to the Grand Prix. And it's a consistent theme, and the thing that Bud pointed out there that I want to emphasize is a science curriculum built around this for the fifth graders. It's just not show up and you get to go and watch the cars, but there's a science curriculum around this, which I think will make that much more impactful on the day on Friday the 1st.
What surprised you guys about these bright young kids that you've seen and had them work in the Fifth Gear program and through their curriculum in the schools?
What surprised me is the fact that they're pushing their teachers. These kids want to be part of this program, and not all kids can be part of the program because the teachers need to sign up to be a part of the curriculum. And my hope is that this becomes a program where the kids of 4th grade and 3rd grade see it as an opportunity. I want to be in that program next year. I want to go through this curriculum. I want to be on Belle Isle. So they're going to be pushing their teachers, their principals to say, why can't we have that curriculum in our school? And we're starting with 400 to 500 students, and I hope we have thousands of students next year.
So, clearly the goal is for the Grand Prix and for PNC Bank and hopefully for the Detroit Public Schools to grow this program.
No doubt about it. I've got a great example of that. Latoya Von Gresham is my project manager. Latoya Von Gresham is a wonderful young African-American lady who went to DPS schools, graduated from DPS schools, went to Michigan State, got her mechanical engineering degree, and now she's helping me put this program together. A great role model, a great mentor for these kids, and if she can do it, why can't they?
That's a good point.
And I think it's really important also being a female as well. So, trying to get more females in engineering as well, and I think it's just that's a great win. We're familiar with her as well. She's worked with us as well, so we have a lot of comfort in her ability to make this come to life. So we're very excited about her being part of this.
And there are more young girls and more women more and more involved in road racing and enjoying following road racing. And there's a real good chance that when you're going along at 76 miles an hour in the middle lane or the far right lane, that car that just passed you at 85 is being driven by a woman.
It could be, and a good point, Paul, because we'll have on Belle Isle our race weekend, June 1st through June 3rd, several females driving their cars at about 180 miles an hour.
Several?
Several, absolutely.
Really?
And IndyCar series and other series as well, too. So you'll see some great stars down there, but also a number of great female athletes performing on Belle Isle and those great races.
So not just on I-75 and 696.
Yeah. They'll be going the high speeds where they're supposed to go the high speeds, where it's okay. The track coming along nicely?
It is. We've got days until the race, and we're prepared. We've had great weather, fortunately, knock on wood. We need great weather that weekend, so Paul, light your candle.
All right.
We're days ahead of schedule. But when you go down to Belle Isle, if you do before the race, and I encourage you to do that, everybody do that, you won't believe the beauty of it. You won't believe what we returned that island to. Now it needs more work in the future, and the good news is also we're here for years to come. It's not a one and done. We've got commitments from Chevrolet to have this for multiple years.
You do have multiple. Are you prepared to put a number on what that means? Multiple years? I thought it was just two.
No, we've got several years in options as well. So
Good.
Our intentions are to be there for multiple years. It's Chevrolet's intention as well. And once again, I can't emphasize enough that this would not be possible without their involvement. Now, why is that? Because we are racing in our Team Penske engines, Chevrolet engines. We are proud to have the bow tie on our car. And we are proud to represent the bow tie here at Belle Isle. And when we did that, Mark Royce said, let's bring that race back here. We need that race back. And Bud and Roger, will you help operate it and run it for us?
Well, there you are. And you are chairman of the Chevrolet Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix coming up June 1st through the 3rd. And PNC Bank, a big role we talked about. Again, the Friday, June 1st, being the PNC Bank Free Day, Free Prix Day. But there's something extra special, Rick, I want you to explain to our listeners, to our PNC Roundtable, and that is you're not only going to get in free to the race venue, but there's the opportunity to get free access to the paddock as well.
That's different this year.
Yeah,
that was not the case in 2008, correct?
That's correct.
And so that's a nice attraction. Just a little bit more of the race experience, if you will.
Yeah, well, explain what it means, and you jump in there too, Bud, if you want, because people may not exactly know what that means, being able to have access to the paddock.
Sure. When they go to MIS Speedway, which will have a great race out there in June as well, Roger Curtis and his team, they have a garage where the competitors work on their cars. We don't have garages on Belle Isle. They have to establish and build their own garages with tents and stuff and their transporters. We call it a paddock. So it's the same thing. You'll be there where the competitors are working on their cars, the teams are working on their cars. We call it the locker room of racing. It's inside the ropes, from a golf terminology, you can experience. And on Friday, thanks to PNC's help, you can come in that area for free. And as Rick said, in 2007, 2008, you had to pay $25 to get in there. Now, on Friday, free pre-day, because of PNC, it will be free.
And that's special. It's a nice, again, another give back to the community, and that's very, very important.
No, it is, and I think it's just another way you can get up close and personal, more with what the mechanics are doing, what's going on with the cars, And also, I wanted to have Bud maybe help me out here, but we also have some specials for PNC customers on Saturday.
That's right.
We have vouchers available at our branches throughout the state of Michigan.
That's correct. You can go to any PNC branch and get a voucher, and that voucher allows you a free access on Saturday as well, general admission access. You bring that to the racetrack, you redeem it at the racetrack box office, and you can come Friday for free. And because of PNC, go to their banks. You can also come on Saturday for free as well too. So great entertainment, great racing, all of that available. These concerts also included.
That's all included. The concerts, everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, once you're on the island.
Yeah. Once you're on the island, you're on the island.
So imagine going to see the B-52s in concert, Mitch Ryder in concert, and both days, and doing it for free because of PNC Bank.
Thank you, PNC Bank.
So it's and I think the concerts are a great new element. I mean, I've mentioned to a few people about the B-52s being on the island. They're like, really? It's part of the package? Yes,
right.
It is. So there really is something for everybody that weekend.
That's right. Bud Denker, as chairman of the race and executive vice president of Penske Performance, Penske Automotive Group, senior vice president of Penske Corporation, and all that you do, it truly is important for the Penske Corporation, and the Grand Prix in this case, to partner with community-minded businesses like PNC Bank to help grow the event locally and keep the event going.
It really is, and we could not do it alone. We rely upon 40 corporate partners that are currently going to be on Belle Isle that week. We'll rely upon the fact that we'll have 100,000 people coming down, the fans that are part of it as well too, and we'll rely upon the fact that Chevrolet and Penske are contributing greatly to the program. But also relying on the fact that we've got a great team and a great staff. Many of our Penske corporate citizens that work for us are being donated to the use of putting this event on, including myself. And it's all part of Give Back. You mentioned community. This is our community. Roger believes that Belle Isle is now his backyard. And as you know, Roger likes things detailed, likes them oriented, likes them looking good. And Belle Isle will be that way as well. It is now, and would be even better during the race weekend. So, PNC and WJR are great community servants, and we feel at Penske we are as well too. And this is just another example of helping Detroit get back on its feet and establishing some of the luster back to Belle Isle that it needs.
And the beauty, Rick, is, again, all of these things that are being done now, as we mentioned, Frank Torrey, but the permanent things that are being done, the cleaning of the fountain, all of that, when they leave the island in a far better way than when they found it.
Yeah,
and that stays with us.
And I think that's really important, because what I think the Penske organization and the sponsors, Chevrolet and others, don't want is to have the race look like it's for certain people and not access to others.
That's right.
And the permanency of what's going on at Belle Isle is really important. I mean, it's a jewel that needs help. And I think there's a lot of people that have been very involved in trying to get it back to some of its luster from years ago. But I think it's really important to have this community-minded focus on this race. As Bud said, not everybody has access to some events like this, and it's really a jewel that, if we can be part of fixing it, it's really, really important.
Well, we certainly enjoyed the work you guys did, the Penske organization, Roger, you, Bud, and everybody for the Super Bowl, for example.
Right.
This is our Super Bowl every year. This is not waiting several years and hoping we get it. This is it. Much like the North American International Auto Show, not to be taken for granted, the economic impact. This has a $50 million, as you mentioned, and greater economic impact. And there's just something about having a race like this, and for goodness sakes, we are the Motor City, and we were without a race. If we're going to be the Motor City, the motor capital of the world, as we are and want to continue to be, having the Chevrolet Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix, June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, is utterly important. And the thing that we haven't even talked about yet is we have talked about partnerships and your relationship with PNC Bank, and PNC Bank offering a PNC free pre-day on Friday, and now a special way to do it on Saturday too because of your generosity. So here's like one of many invitations that many of us get from businesses. This one happens to be from John Fickney at Microsoft. Please join. Look at how excited. Look, I don't know if they're putting a penny into this, but I'm telling you, they are excited about it and inviting guests to come to be with them downtown Detroit on Belle Isle for this race. So there's all kinds of offshoots of great positive things happening because of this.
Absolutely. And I think it provides some a galvanizing effect. It really does that weekend. This race that weekend will be that weekend every year. Okay, it's the week following the Indy 500. We will have the Indy 500 champion racing on our island that next week. And
isn't that amazing?
The Indy 500 is the biggest sporting event in the world, not just the motorsports event, the biggest sporting event in the world. 300,000 plus people will be there. We follow that every year. Our racers will be here on Wednesday following the Indy 500, hopefully the Team Penske driver. But we will be here with
That's what I was thinking. I was going to say it if you didn't.
And so we are excited about that. But also the fact that date equity, as you mentioned early on, put on your calendar, the first week of June, every year, this event will be here, and it brings the coalition of those companies together. But as Rick said also, it's a very inclusive event. That's why we have Free Friday, because anybody can come down for free on Belle Isle. They have to park downtown, of course, and make their way to the island via our buses, but they can come on the island, enjoy the activities, both on and off the track for free. And then Saturday and Sunday, our prices this year are at or lower than they were in 2008.
Really?
We've had a tough go in the last 2 years in this community, in this area, in this state. We recognize that, so we want this thing to be an inclusive event, as Rick mentioned, and have everybody there to enjoy it, not just our corporate partners.
It is a powerful and important event. Such that was seen by the Detroit Regional Chamber in our Mackinac Policy Conference, and a great job that Sandy Barua has done in putting that thing together. We actually moved it a little bit so that we were up there at the first start of the week, and all of us want to get back in time for the weekend and for the race. And I have a feeling there might be some kind of presence up there on the island, possibly, that has to do with the coming up at the end of that week, the Chevrolet Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix. You don't have to tell me anything that you shouldn't, but I've heard bits and pieces of the potential and possibilities.
Well, I'll start off and let Bud go after that. But
right.
We, again, are teaming with the Penske organization, and Roger is going to the island with Joe Gio, our chief risk officer, and they're comparing Pittsburgh and Detroit. 2 years ago, Paul, if you remember, we brought up the Allegheny Conference, which is the Detroit Regional Chamber alter ego in Pittsburgh, and this is an update of that, really, and talking about what has gone well in Detroit, what's gone well in Pittsburgh, and how we can learn from each other. So that is Wednesday on the island, and there's a rumor that there might be some guys that drive really fast going with us. I'll let Bud talk about that.
Well, it's a secret, but I know Paul can keep secrets.
I'm keeping it a secret. I'm certainly keeping it a secret.
Yeah, we will have Elio Castroneves, Dancing with the Star fame, but also
just celebrated
500.
Just celebrated his birthday. What is he, 22 now? I mean, he just celebrated his birthday a week or two ago.
That's okay. I'm glad he does think that way.
Yeah.
And Ryan Briscoe, another Team Penske driver, and Will Power. Will Power has won the last 3 IndyCar races for us in Team Penske. So all 3 drivers will be up on Mackinac Island with Roger and with Joe from PNC to talk about the race. But also, you mentioned it, Paul, I want to thank Sandy and the team from the Regional Chamber of Commerce for shifting the date of this great policy conference, Tuesday through Thursday, to allow everybody to get back to Detroit, to allow everybody to get back in time for the gala at the Renaissance Center on Friday night, which is for all proceeds going to the Belle Isle Conservancy, and then, of course, to be on the island on Saturday and Sunday. So we look forward to being on Mackinac Island. I'm not sure Roger has ever been there before. He may have a problem with the horsepower of the taxis. They're not too fast, but that's okay. And but he'll love it up there once he gets there.
Well, I hope that he will enjoy it. And there's a lot of car stuff going on. They just announced, Sandy did, that Chrysler Group's Ralph Geel will be there as one of the headliners. Of course, Ralph is the president, CEO, SRT Brand and Motorsports. He's very excited about the new Viper, yes, the SRT Viper, which we did take a look at in New York, I think, at the New York show we were broadcasting from. Spectacular. And Bill Ford has been on the schedule to be a headliner, too, talking urban mobility. So it's got the car flair and flavor anyway. Now we just might be talking a little bit faster cars.
That's right. A little bit more horsepower. That's right.
A little more horsepower to go along with the old-fashioned horsepower. And if you get up there, are you going to be there?
I'll be up there as well that day. You bet.
If you care about horses, and I know you know about stables and stuff, but they've just built a brand new stable for the Grand Hotel horses and their carriages. It looks like a picture for now this Carlton Varney, that is their designer who designed it, wouldn't like to hear this, but it's the best way I can describe it, because it's hard for me to describe something that's Carlton Varney. I don't watch Home Shopping Network. Apparently he's selling millions of dollars worth of stuff on there, and he's had a hand in the beautification of for a long time of Grand Hotel. But I looked at this barn and I went, if Ralph Lauren had a horse barn, this is what it would look like.
And that sounds like
it's just beautiful. And I think it's brand new, and I think they're going to give tours for the horse barn. Well, gentlemen, we always love the good news coming our way. It's important to all of us. And the only other thing that we might mention a little bit that has been controversial only because it might be misunderstood, and I think that's what happens a lot lately with what's been going on in Detroit. But we know that there is a consent decree for Detroit, and it does have an effect on Belle Isle. But for all of us who've paid attention, it's a great positive thing for Belle Isle. Why don't you, Bud, take the first stab at explaining this to our listeners?
Well, part of the consent agreement with the city is that the state will provide management oversight of Belle Isle. The Michigan Department of Natural Resources, the DNR, Rodney Stokes being its leader, will have sometime in the near future the ability to come in and take over the oversight of Belle Isle. That's good news for everybody. We know that the city hasn't got the resources to spread across the vastness of their area. And also the fact is the DNR, their core competency is to take care of parks.
It's what they do.
It's what they do, exactly. So they can come in and provide that oversight. Rodney has been down to the island with me already to review, walk around, understand what we're doing, what our mission is so supportive of what we're doing. We're so supportive of what they can do in the future. So I think it should be looked upon as not control, but the ability to add and the ability to improve what we all know needs improvement down there, and that's their mission. Their mission is to provide that oversight, provide that management, and in the near future, we think that's going to be good news for all the citizens of Detroit and our state.
And Rick, it's not a question of the Michigan Department of Natural Resources or the state taking away, as Bud said, taking away the park. They're making the park better. There's going to be somebody there that actually does the work that needs to be done, that if it were done on a regular basis now, you wouldn't have Frank Torrey and other people out there working hard, hours and hours and hours to get the place ready. Now somebody's going to be in charge of doing that.
Absolutely, and what we're all hoping, obviously, is that Bud and his team don't have to repeat what they're doing right now every year, and there'll be less to do on an annual basis if we can keep more of a permanency, to all the improvements. So I think it's a great step in the right direction.
It's a win-win situation all the way around, and all good. As is this, the return after a few years without it, and we needed it, and we've got it back thanks to some very hard-working people, starting with Chevrolet. It took Chevrolet's commitment to be the presenting title sponsor of the upcoming Chevrolet Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix, June 1st through the 3rd. So many good things that will be happening in and around our city and right there on Belle Isle that I hope that you'll make plans to be there. And Bud Denker, you're the chairman. It couldn't be a better guy in charge of all the things that have to happen. I should just say one last time, we've done this in our morning show and a couple of other times we've had a chance to talk, but we would be remiss if we didn't say exactly how people can get tickets.
Tickets are available. They come on down on Saturday, Sunday. Once again, tickets are available. They can go to our website, DetroitGP.com, DetroitGP.com, and get your tickets on the website. You'll see some great offers there and great entertainment on and off the track. One other thing is you can't park on Belle Isle. You need to park at one of the parking areas downtown. On Friday, you can park at Cobo, and you can park on the West Jefferson lots near Rosa Parks. But on Saturday, Sunday, you can park at the Joe Louis. You can park at the Renaissance Center lots. But you got to park downtown.
You're on your own on the parking, meaning you pay what you pay for the parking. But the buses that run, are those complimentary?
They are bar buses. We have rented those buses out. You pay to park on our lots. It's $5 in the Rosa Parks Jefferson lot. You pay $10 in Rensen. And as an adult, you pay $10 for a round-trip bus. And for kids, you pay $5 for a bus ride on and off the island. The only way to get on the island is use our buses. We've done it economically, $10 for adults, $5 for kids. And that's a round-trip ticket.
Makes good sense, and it's the only way to do it. You can't park on the island, so just bear that in mind and put it on your calendar. June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. You can buy your tickets at DetroitGP.com and get more information, DetroitGP.com. But, of course, if you show up Friday, you don't need a ticket because, again, PNC Bank Free Pre-Day is happening, where you'll actually get free access to the paddock, not just admission to the race venue, and that's very exciting. And the one other thing, you'd mentioned something about some sort of promotion on Saturday. I didn't quite understand how that works.
If you go to any of our branches, you can get a $25 voucher.
Okay, so for the free pre-day, you just show up Friday.
Correct.
But if
That's
you
correct.
want to come in Saturday,
Saturday.
greatly reduced and with a little special voucher,
Right.
you do go into a PNC bank branch.
That's correct. All the way down to Monroe, you're stomping.
All the
Absolutely.
way, all the way down to Monroe. What is Monroe? It's a 45-minute drive, maybe. Yeah, it's
A little longer from where you've relocated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah. That's right. That's true, too. Anything else we need to know, Rick? Last word?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention is if you look at our thought process of getting involved, all you had to do is look at the Super Bowl and the work that the Penske organization and Roger himself did. You know this is going to go well. And the thing I want to just give a shout out is all these volunteers. There are lots of people from the Penske organization and a lot of organizations that are doing this for free, because they're so committed to the city. So the sponsors are very important, but there's a lot of individuals giving up a lot of time. I talked to my partner to the right last night at 9 o'clock. I think he was driving back from Belle Isle.
That's right.
So he's giving his time every day, and I think it's really important to acknowledge all those people that are doing so much because they love the city.
1,150 volunteers. 1,150.
1,150?
Yeah, we sold out by March this year, our fastest time ever. 1,150 volunteers who actually pay $15 to the association to do it. That's part of their association money to make things happen. Imagine 1,150 volunteers that are passionate about our city, great ambassadors for our city and our state, and they are the best. And thank you, Rick, for bringing that up, because we couldn't do it without them, and also my able-minded staff that makes it all happen for us.
Yep, absolutely. Well done. With a nod there to the able-minded staff. And gentlemen, we thank you very much, and we'll look forward to the race and everything before that, and frankly everything after that, here on PNC Roundtable with our very special guest, Bud Denker, Chairman, Chevrolet Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix, June 1st through the 3rd, Executive Vice President of Penske Performance, Penske Automotive Group, and Senior Vice President of Penske Corporation, and of course our co-host and sponsor of this PNC Roundtable, the Regional President of PNC Bank, Ric DeVore. Thank you, Rick, as always.
Thank you, Paul.
Can't wait to see what we do next time we're together, as we continue here on WJR.com and on the radio on News Talk 760 WJR, Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 9. Regards, Paul W. Smith.